There is a strange place you eventually reach in your financial journey, where everything is finally calm, and instead of feeling excited about what's next, you feel cautious. Not because things are going badly, not because you're struggling, but because you've worked hard to build stability, and the thought of losing that stability feels heavier than the excitement of gaining something new. Hi, I'm JP. And lately I've realized that stepping into the next level doesn't always feel like growth. Sometimes it feels like risk. There was a time when the biggest question in our house was simple. Would we make it to the end of the month without stress? I remember checking the bank balance more often than I'd like to admit. I remember calculating how many days were left until payday. I remember hoping nothing unexpected would happen because there simply wasn't room for it. That season shaped me. It taught me discipline. It taught me awareness. It taught me what pressure feels like. But now there is no panic. There is margin. There is room to breathe. And strangely, that breathing room sometimes feels fragile. Because once you've experienced financial pressure, you don't forget it. Even when your numbers improve, your memory still references that old tension. So when you think about making a bigger move, your mind doesn't just see opportunity, it sees potential risk. We've started looking at houses. Nothing serious yet. No offers. No commitments. Just browsing and talking and imagining what the next phase of life might look like. And what surprised me was not excitement, it was responsibility. When I think about buying a house, I don't immediately think about the extra space or the long-term asset. I think about maintenance, I think about surprise costs. I think about monthly payments that don't move or flex. I think about responsibility. And somewhere in that thought process, a quiet fear shows up. What if this stretches us too far? Not because we're reckless, not because we haven't planned, but because I remember what it felt like when money was tight, and I never want to return to that feeling. Here's the honest tension. If buying a house meant tighter months for a while, fewer indulgences, and more financial responsibility, would that feel like growth? Or would that feel like regression? That question has been sitting with me. Because technically stepping into a bigger financial commitment can be progress. It can mean maturity. It can mean building long-term stability. But emotionally, if it reintroduces pressure or removes margin, it can feel like stepping backward instead of forward. And that's the strange place I find myself in. Stable, calm, grateful, but cautious. If I'm honest, I'm not afraid of bigger numbers. I'm afraid of losing peace. I'm afraid of reintroducing tension into a space that finally feels steady. The stability we have now wasn't accidental. It was built slowly, through discipline, through saying no, through choosing long-term over short-term many times when no one else saw it. And because it was built carefully, I value it deeply. So when a bigger opportunity appears, my instinct isn't to run toward it. My instinct is to protect what we already have. That doesn't mean we won't move forward. It just means I want to move carefully. It's interesting how the body remembers financial stress. Even when the numbers change, your nervous system can still react as if you're one mistake away from instability. So when I scroll through house listings or calculate what a future payment might look like, I'm not just evaluating affordability. I'm evaluating emotional capacity. Can we carry this without sacrificing peace? Can we step forward without feeling stretched thin? Can we grow without recreating the pressure we worked so hard to eliminate? Those questions matter more to me than square footage. Buying a house doesn't feel like a reward to me right now. It feels like responsibility. And responsibility isn't flashy. It's steady. It's heavy. It's long-term. I don't want to move because it feels exciting in the moment. I want to move because we're prepared for it in every sense, not just financially, but emotionally. There's a difference between being able to afford something and being ready to carry it. That difference is maturity. This is where faith quietly anchors the process. We've been praying about timing, about wisdom, about not rushing ahead of what's sustainable. Not in a dramatic way, not in a leap and hope way, but in a grounded way. Trusting that if we continue to build steadily and responsibly, the right timing will make itself clear. Trust isn't passive, it's disciplined patience. And sometimes the most faithful move is not accelerating when you technically could. I used to think progress meant movement. Now I'm starting to believe progress sometimes means protection. Protecting margin, protecting calm, protecting stability. Growth doesn't always feel like expansion. Sometimes it feels like restraint. Sometimes it feels like waiting. And that waiting can be uncomfortable because it doesn't look impressive. It doesn't look dramatic. It doesn't look like breakthrough, but it is progress. Not having panic anymore is progress. Not feeling financial tension every month is progress. Being able to consider a house without desperation is progress, even if it doesn't feel dramatic. If you're in a place where things are finally stable and the next level feels risky instead of exciting, you're not doing something wrong. You're valuing what you built. Fear of losing stability doesn't mean you lack ambition. It means you understand the cost of instability. Maybe the next level isn't about rushing into something bigger. Maybe it's about stepping carefully. Maybe protecting peace is part of growth. I'm JP, and I'll see you in the next one.